Hello and welcome. Today is Friday. And if you're watching it on the replay, obviously it's a different day of the week, perchance. But today we are going to talk about 5 ways to protect your business against a lawsuit. Now, I have vague recollections of doing this video similar before, but I don't have it on my script of videos. So this is one of those things that always needs to get talked about. So, and I'll share more insights with this video than I did, before, and just go into a deeper dive with it, because I think it's important that we recognize that there are many things that are important when it comes to running a business. And preventing lawsuits is one very big thing that you can do to help your business be more successful. So first, before we get started, I just wanted to say, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Taylor Darcy with Think Legal, where I help you create the business of your dreams. And do that through videos and podcasts and, obviously legal help. But please, if you're in a foreign, what I mean by foreign is non-California area, please seek local counsel, because they may have unique information in that area. So I don't want you to think that this is for all of the United States, as the disclaimer said earlier. So lots of stuff to talk about in regards to the lawsuit, avoiding lawsuits. First, just know that about 75% of all companies are sued, which, generally speaking, I don't really care for statistics in the respect that to extrapolate that to the rest of the world, that doesn't make sense. But in this instance, that's a high enough percentage that you're basically 3 in 4 chances of getting sued at some point during your business ownership. So the biggest thing, I take a proactive approach with my clients, because at the end of the day, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If you've watched any of my videos at all, you will know that that's something that I maintain frequently. I talk about often, because it is important to remember. I beat the drum of it because people think that they can skimp and save on these crucial, important elements of running a business, and then get frustrated when the stuff happens that's not great. And then they wonder, well, what could I have done? Well, that's what I'm here for. That's one of the reasons why I do these videos, is to talk about proactive approaches that you can take to make sure that you're more successful, so that when you do get sued, not a matter of if, it's more like a matter of when you get sued. The longer you're in business, the more likely it's going to happen. The bigger you get, the more likely it's going to happen. The less you pay attention to the needs, the legal needs of your business, the accounting needs, the important things that go into running a business, the more it's more likely that it's going to happen. That's just a truth. I mean, I can't emphasize this enough. The best way to avoid getting sued or being a part of litigation is by having proper planning. Proper planning prevents poor performance is a nice alliteration of how it's important that you do these things. And as a matter of point, for instance, business planning. And it's not, I'm not talking about a business plan. I'm talking about business planning. And business planning is sitting down and discussing the issues that you're going to face as an owner and addressing each of those types of concerns. For instance, if you're talking about bringing on a partner, what type of issues are you going to face with bringing on a partner? Are there securities laws issues? Is there, what happens if you disagree? What happens if one of you dies? What if both of you are married? What happens in the case of a divorce? Because we're in California, we're a community property state. And so you want to address these things in the honeymoon phase. And we do what's called a BuySell Agreement. And in a BuySell Agreement, we discuss all of these different things in order to make sure that they're out on paper and make sure that everyone's interests are represented. and that you're getting the things that you want. And so, sitting down and nailing these details is an important and crucial is an important part of doing a business. Throwing stuff together and just hoping for the best is the worst way to handle it, because more often than not, you end up getting sued or other things that happen. A lawsuit is not the worst thing that can happen to you. You can be criminally prosecuted in some instances for fraud, if you misrepresent a security, if you're doing anything in regards to, if you're doing anything illegal. So, a lawsuit is expensive and costly and can ruin your business, but there are other things that you need to sit down and really look at and evaluate. So the next thing that you can do to protect your business from insurance or from insurance, that's true too, from being sued, or in case you are sued, is having proper insurance. Disability insurance, errors and omissions insurance, umbrella insurance. There's lots of types of insurances, and I'm not going to push one insurance over another. But the key here is that, one, you want to have adequate coverage, and that you want to make sure that you have the policies that are relative to your potential risk. You want to mitigate your risk. You want to reduce it. It isn't that you can eliminate risk in its entirety. It's that you need to lower your risks to an acceptable level. Case in point, most people carry the very minimum on property damage of their vehicles. And I think it's like $15,000, $30,000. The problem is that when you look at most vehicles, they are worth 30, 40. I mean, you had a Cadillac Esplanade, there you go. And you're looking at $60,000 to $80,000, and your little insurance policy is barely going to cover the hood on that. They're expensive vehicles to fix, and I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not endorsing anything, but the point is that if you are thinking about just getting the bare minimums on your insurance, just to say you have insurance, yes, some insurance is better than no insurance, but having insurance that adequately protects potential loss, like real adequate, so that if you're sued, or say you're driving and you get in a car accident, and you have the bare minimums, then you run the risk of not only the insurance company only paying up to their policy limits, and then you're on the hook for the rest, or in some instances, and this is why we're talking about it, insurance companies will deny your claim. And then all of a sudden, you're on the hook for all of the money that's, if it can be proved that was intentional or something of that nature. Most insurance companies do not cover intentional torts. And so really, you want to make sure that your insurance isn't just, minor levels or simple, easy, cheapy insurance. You want to make sure you're actually getting protected. You're actually being protected in that respect. The next thing you want to do to protect yourself and your business is having the proper business entity. A sole proprietor is unlimited liability. All of your personal assets are at risk in a sole proprietorship, or a DBA. That's the other version. That's not the only time, but that's just something that you need to know. You need to know that having a proper business entity, a corporation, an LLC, an LLP, different types of entities, and these are things that you need to sit down and discuss with your CPA and your attorney, and they will have different opinions based upon their respective respective experience. And keep in mind, a CPA should be for tax advice, but should not be doing legal functions. They should not be forming an LLC for you, or a corporation. And just like I don't give tax advice, we should respectively stay in our lanes, because unless they are a CPA attorney, or a tax attorney, where they've gone to extra schooling to become someone who can give that type of advice, which is great if that's the truth. right? But I've found that a lot of CPAs will do things that they're not supposed to do because it's easier for them, and they're trying to get profit, even though it's technically practicing law. And I've met attorneys that do the same thing. They start giving out tax advice like it's candy, thinking that they know as much as a CPA. And so my point is, each party, each professional should stay in their lane and do their thing regardless. That's my personal opinion on that. So having the proper entity, there are different choices, and we're not going to talk about those right now because the idea is to get you exposed to the idea of an entity. Don't be afraid of forming an entity. Don't be afraid of making that choice and the decision. And because there are advisors such as myself that can help you make that decision for the better. So please, don't necessarily rely on Google or internet websites to decide what is right for you, because in some instances you may pick the wrong one because you don't know your scenario perfectly well and the consequences of each. In certain instances, having an LLC is a great idea. In other instances, you need a corporation. Some instances, you should apply for an S corporation. And just so you know, S corp is a tax designation, not a actual entity. The actual entity would be considered what's called a C corp. Just so you're aware, for clarity's sake. Next, you want to have your contracts in order. And this is as crucial, if not more crucial, than all of the rest of these things. And you want to have tailored contracts to your individual need, your company needs, because these boilerplate things you download off the internet are not much better than having it in verbally. It's always better to get it in writing. That's a given. But the problem is that these boilerplate contracts don't usually provide the provisions or the review and language that are required to make sure that you're well protected. We go through them with the fine-tooth comb and make sure that they're something that you legitimately need, first of all, and that the language benefits you, that it's not superfluous, or that it's too broad. That's the biggest problem with most contracts, boilerplate contracts you download off the internet, is the contract is too broad and not specific enough. And that allows you some exposure. That allows people that, someone else, you sign the contract, and it allows them the opportunity to get out of something because you didn't pay attention to the details and make sure that your contract was up to snuff. So, you want to have, there are three types of contracts that you really want to pay attention to. If you're a service business, you want to have a service contract between you and the parties, your clients or customers. And these can happen through terms of service. If it's a website, it can also be, a legitimate straight up contract, formal agreement. Doesn't have to be. Okay, there is no have to, with some exceptions under the statute of frauds, and we won't talk about that right now. But some agreements are required to be in writing. But the overall point is that a service contract between you and your client, you want to make sure that it's detailed and clear and concise, and that it represents the interests of both parties. For me, I like a contract that is more like Goldilocks, something that both parties benefit from having signed, right? Not so extreme to one side or the other that makes it so that it's harming the business in the process of making it so strict, or that it's unfair to the other side. Okay. The other thing is you want to make sure your goods contracts, if you're purchasing goods, that they are clear and concise terms, that it outlines all of the different provisions under the UCC, so that you're making sure you're getting the products or the products that you're supposed to be getting for the prices, and in case there's a dispute, what happens, so on and so forth. So you really want to pay attention to your goods contracts. The last main category of contracts, and each one is kind of like a subset of these. So don't think that these are just broad categorizations. Vendor contracts. you want to have between you and your vendors a clear cut or a clear outline of expectations between the two parties, remedies for damages, so on and so forth. And because in the end, those are the ones where you're most likely to have a dispute that's going to potentially cost you large amounts of money, because you're going to have a relationship with them that's going to extend past, one transaction or so. Then last but certainly not least, document everything. Be proactive. Put things in writing. Put things in email. Be careful what you put in writing. Don't put stupid things in writing. Don't say dumb things and expect it not to come back to you. The general rule is if you don't want it read aloud in court, don't put it in writing. Okay. A good, the best defense is a good offense, right? And so being proactive about how you're treating others and how you're outlining things, and just put yourself in the other party's shoes. Help them understand that. Make sure that you understand how they feel, and that'll go a long way towards keeping yourself out of court and being protected in those instances. So these are just a few ways. There are more ways that you can talk about on how to protect yourself against a lawsuit. If you've gotten value out of this video, please hit subscribe and like this video, as well as don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you'll get notified of each time I go live, because I would really like to be here to help you answer your questions and help you move and improve your business and create that business of your dreams. And we'll see you later.